the mask mandates here in Hawaii just ended a couple months ago. I think May 1st. And on August 1st, they were going to end all indoor mask mandates. Kids in school still had to wear them, and they still do up until August 1st. But now, everybody's got them on again because of a new fake variant of the fake thing. So once again, I've gone back to being a grandma killer. It's, whatever. We're really the only state, we are the only U.S. state that had them as long as we did. It's also the state with the lowest IQ scores in the nation. Is there a connection there? I don't know. Maybe. But they really love their tyranny here. So now that there's a new variant thing, I mean, I'd say a good, yesterday I was walking around and I kind of did a little poll in my head. It's about half, 50% are back to wearing them. Everybody in my immediate neighborhood has them on. And we just got them off. Yeah, we kept it longer than anyone. Yet, the airports stay open, inviting people from all over the world. On any night, Kalakaua is packed. When the racist guy does his music there on the corner, it's you can't get through. You have to either walk on the street or you got to go through a store to get down the road. But so all that's fine. But gotta wear the mask. It's funny shit, man. It's mental. It's at the. I didn't know what to say about it a long time ago. I just, what do you say? I think it makes a great case for my theory about the assets. Assets being people that aren't actually people. They're tools of the design of this system, of this test system that I believe this place, well, not just myself, I mean, and I'm not talking about Hawaii, I'm talking about this place we find ourselves, this realm. I don't like to call it a world because that implies circular. The world is not any shape. It's not flat. It's not round. It's a perception-specific area. There's no set shape to it. But when you say world, for some reason it just reminds me of globe. And yeah, it's not a fucking globe. Because I know how water works. I've handled it throughout my life. And I don't care how fast they want to say things are moving. And I don't know, things don't look like they're moving to me. But water doesn't stick to a ball. You know, they tell you these things like, well, it's just moving so fast you can't notice. It goes against what your own senses and your own feedback of your own experience is telling you. You know, I go 55 on a highway. You put your hand out the window and you can do a little air gliding, but it's spinning hundreds of thousands of miles. Everything with these people is like hundreds of thousands and millions and trillions and billions and billions and 6 billion. It's like a child. You know, it's like a child when they describe something. You know, that guy he was like 100 feet tall. It's like, yeah, he was 100 feet tall. Yeah, he was like 100 feet tall. It's like a child. Carl Sagan. The universe is like a box of donuts. It's shaped like a box of donuts. And it's just that the donut box is billions and billions and trillions of It's like, just shut the fuck up. The good news is, though, a lot of people are starting to say, hey, wait a minute. But some people can't say, hey, wait a minute. Because some people, and I'm just calling them people for, like, you know, conversation's sake, are actually tools. Right? I was going to say tools of the system, but it's tools of the system in a different way. They are tools of the system, and they're also tools. But what it is the theory that many have that this is some kind of training area, a soul training area, or a school of some kind. Matt at Quantum of Conscience calls it a Spartan training center. I don't think it was supposed to be that hardcore. It's become that hardcore, but it wasn't always meant to be that way. So if you're here to learn and you're here to, grow as a being, as the light being that you are, broadcasting to these bodies, logic would dictate you would need other beings that look like you to help facilitate some of these tests or some of these lessons to help you learn. And it stands to reason, going with this theory, and again, it's all just theory, I'm not saying anything, it's all theory, that there would be people here that aren't exactly people, they're assets, like things put in the scenery, like perhaps things in nature, trees, rocks, things to fill out the area. Asset is a term used in game design when they put things into the world. I think it applies here. So some of the people aren't the same as those that have divinity. And there are clues as to how you can figure this out. Like the mental health field, or the mental health industry, I should say. The way you parse this out, the only way you can really parse this out is through observation and feedback. That's it. That's how you know. And people that just do what they're told by the system, defying logic and, in many cases, their own best interest, that's a good clue as to they're not people in the same way that a lot of us are, who have an inner dialogue. It was shocking when I saw a study that came out, I guess a couple of years ago now. It made the rounds on the internet and got quite a bit of attention. It was a visualization test. They asked people to visualize an apple in their mind, to try to imagine an apple. And a large number of people couldn't do it. They couldn't visualize. The same went for people who didn't understand the concept even of what an inner dialogue is. This is shocking to me. But putting all these things together, the fact that this could, the theory that this is actually used to be a training place, and the thing about that is it was meant to be not as hardcore as it is. Along the way, the staff, the faculty, those who were here to sort of be the headmasters of the school, decided, hey, we could live a pretty cushy life here if we took the students, or actually student, because we're all just one thing, and if we were to take the student, the child of God, the children of God, the boss's kid, they have something that we don't have and will never have. They have divinity on a much larger scale, as they are the progeny of God. That brought a lot of jealousy, especially with the music teacher. He didn't like that. So him and some of his pals concocted a plan in which they would use all the tools. Instead of teaching the boss's kid, they would instead stress and torture the boss's kid by taking all the tools of the school here and putting all the buttons on 10, cranking all the buttons to 10, to increase a fear response and an anxiety and agitation, lower vibration, which they can then digest, or suck off or absorb in some way. I usually say it like digest or in a food way because it's just easier to conceptualize that way. They can't absorb higher vibrations. That's why I always say that evil hates being mocked. The devil hates being mocked. It hates laughter. The old saying, what's the matter, can't take a joke, or can't take a joke, when someone would get angry about something, because the anger was the demon, or that was the thought behind it. Like when someone gets, they're like, oh, you're showing the devil. What's the matter, can't take a joke? Because the devil and evil can't take a joke because they can't take it. Like they can't take it in. So yeah, they're a lot of people are just tools. Programs that were here to help facilitate the tests for those with divinity. Those who do have an inner monologue and can imagine an apple in their mind. Because imagination is tied directly to divinity. Your imagination is what creates reality. Imagination is the back end, again in computer terms, of the reality that's in front of you. They know this. And that's why they're constantly trying to maintain control of your imagination. So when they show you all these movies for years and years with viruses and diseases and all this kind of stuff, tons of movies made about this kind of thing, contagions, and So when they announce this on the news, right, you start imagining the things that go along with it. And in that way, you help those with divinity, you help bring those things about in the world here. And that's how they've used us all along for everything. They can't create the world that they want to have. Evil cannot create. Only those with divinity can create the progeny of God. So they need to trick us into doing it for them, because they simply can't create the world they want. They need to get us to create it for them. So in that example with the virus thing, that's how they've done everything. Movies are a big part of that. Movies, entertainment, your television, and that's why you have all the violence and the sex and the sin, and you see all those people murdered. Your brain is a file storing system, but it will store the memory of watching a guy get shot from a movie. It'll store the image of this person with having the gunshot, with a bullet going through them. It stores that up in your brain. What it doesn't store, okay, is the context. It doesn't store the room you're sitting in, the couch you're sitting on, the popcorn you're having, or the friends you're with, around the TV where the guy's getting shot. It's just storing the image. So as far as your brain's concerned, you've seen a guy get shot, which is traumatizing. And you've seen a bunch of people get shot. You've seen a bunch of people get killed in a lot of different ways. That's trauma. When you're traumatized, you're much easier to control. It's easier to control you. It's a big part of mind control is trauma. You induce trauma, and then you start deconstructing the mind. So trauma is a big part of it. Sorry. Yeah, a lot of these streets are one way. So if people are coming down the street to go somewhere, they're kind of stuck for actually how they can meet someone or turn around, or it's kind of a pain in the ass. Everything's one way here. But yeah, so when they talk about a virus and disease and stuff, you suddenly start thinking of all these things. Now, there are plenty of people with divinity that haven't had the scales come off their eyes yet. Scale bro, veil bro. But as I go on about all the time like a mantra, and it's important that I do that, because that's a sigil in its own right, the veil is breaking down. It is. I mean, the evidence is everywhere. I've experienced it in my life. I've talked to many other people who have. It's the crumbling of the veil which brought me to all this. I wouldn't say a hardcore atheist, but I was an atheist for most of my life. I wasn't against religion. If it helped people, I thought it was great. Well, religion and spirituality are two different things. Spirituality is your connection to God and what you truly are, and you as a person, not your body. What religion is some fucking dude saying, oh yeah, you're interested in your spirit and stuff and where you might go and why you're here. Let me tell you about it. And they get in between you and God. That's what religion is. Now, I mean, if it helps people, whatever, I've had family members, my aunt used to go to church all the time. It was like a social thing for her. I'm not going to try to rain on that parade. If it gets her through, it gets her through. And if it gets someone through, it gets someone through. But more often, it has a damaging effect than any kind of positivity that can come from it. The damage it can do is much more severe than the good it can do. So yeah, we have a situation here now where people are in fear. So they're starting to do that again. But there's a portion of the population, and a fairly large portion of the population, that is just going to do what the system wants because they are of the system. Okay? So they're going to do the things that the system wants. And the idea is other people that have free will and have divinity, but just haven't woken up to it yet, will be influenced by saying, well, gee, everybody in the neighborhood's doing it, so I guess I should do it too. You gotta understand, like, this game, this situation here, has been weaponized against you from every angle, in every possible way, from the food you eat, to the air you breathe, to your own fucking thoughts, which is a whole nother rabbit hole that I really haven't gotten into too much here on the channel, but I will. I'll get there. That's some wild shit, man. That's some wild shit. I developed techniques to work against that, just as I've done for everything, you know? And when you explain this kind of stuff to people, it sounds very schizo. You know, I understand. Schizo garage. You know, that's where we are. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. You know, if someone's described as being schizo, these days I'm just like, oh, I should talk to them, you know, because they see what's going on. Schizophrenia is generally known as a break from reality, or not being able to understand reality. But the reality isn't actually what's real. So when you go off script, they give you a script to try to get you back on script, on the script of the place. And poor clinicians who think they're helping, they're just gatekeepers, man. They're keeping you in the system. It's kind of this could go in 100 different directions right now. I was about to go into my mental health experiences, but this is running too long. I basically just want to pop in and talk about the how the masks seem to be coming back here, and we just and the mandates won't even end. I think August 1st, right? Is what they said for the schools. It just ended for everything in April, so we haven't been out of it all that long, you know. Crazy shit. And the reason we've hung on so long here, I believe, is because someone was benefiting from it in some way here locally. People are allowed to kind of run their own scams here with impunity. I don't know if that was kind of a condition of the U.S. government making it a military base. I don't really know. I have some thoughts about that. I've talked about it before, how the state itself is seemingly just run by a series of warlords who have their own territory. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm bitching about it. I'm just kind of, just reporting like I do here. This is what it's about. I'm not trying to, make anyone believe anything. I'm just reporting what I'm experiencing and what theories I might have that I could share with people and they share with me. Just throwing the ball around. You know what I mean? Just throwing the ball around. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.